Good evening. My name is Ian Blackburn, and it's time to zoom into wines. 7 o'clock here on a Wednesday night in Los Angeles. I produce wine events for a living, and I have a couple things that I can do, and I try to do them.
Yep.
There's somebody in the background there.
Mike, mute yourself.
There you go. So, I try to stay as involved as I can in local matters. I vote, and I keep my opinions pretty public, maybe too public for some people, but I do care a lot. And so I have some people are on the different with different vantage points, and you may be joining us tonight, and I thank you. I like to believe that people can have different opinions and still meet and talk about different things like wine and life and travel, and not have to have the exact same ideas on everything else. And that's why I love wine. I think wine is a really wonderful place. The oceans divide us, but wine can really bring us together. And I intend to keep that spirit alive here. So, with that being said, I want to get into what we plan to talk about tonight, and that is our show on the best wines of Spain, or shall I say, the 6 wines that we're going to taste tonight that fall into that category, because there are thousands of great wines of Spain. And I am such a big fan. In fact, I'm days away from launching our trip effort for November. It's taken me forever to get this trip planned. And these things are problematic because I'm taking a group to Spain at the end of November, and a lot of people already know what they're going to be doing in November. So optimally, I'd have this done a year in advance, but the world changes, prices change, and quite honestly, the travel industry was so impacted last year, so busy that a lot of them got just a little bit too expensive. Ratcheted up prices, and now we're seeing kind of a little bit of a pushback. People are like, all right, that was something I wanted to do before, but now it's gotten a little bit too far ahead of me. So I've been doing that. I've been pushing back and trying to bring down the cost and find something that I think people could invest in and feel very comfortable with. I don't just go out and try to stay at the fanciest hotels and eat at the Michelin star places. I really like to make something authentic. And so we've spent some extra time on it, and the trip will be released in the next couple of days. And I hope you guys will consider joining me, because Spain is a magnificent place to visit. Food, the wine, the value, the energy, the pace, everything about Spain. I've had some of the greatest memories in my life were on my travels to Spain. I've been there 5 times, and I remember 4 of them really well. All right, let's go. We're going to talk about some of the best wines of Spain tonight. I'm going to open up wine number 1 just to get us started, and we'll get inside and see how everybody's doing. Wine number 1 is our first white. Of course, we're going to be tasting an Albariño, and I love a lot of different Albariños. I rotate them because there's so many good ones. This is my first time in this past several years carrying this classic. Do Ferreiro is a very noted, high quality, and well-regarded producer. Rias Baixas is up in the northwest corner, right on the ocean. In fact, these vineyards are literally like on fingerlit type of extensions that touch the water. The water comes right into this area. Now, not all of it, but right along the coast, you get this huge coastal influence, and then you've got some freshwater kind of deposit or emptying out into the ocean too. So you've got a little bit of that. You've got some kind of marshy lands, a lot of sand, a lot of fresh air, a lot of cool wind. All these things are great for elevating wine quality and making something very signature. Now, 20 years ago, Albariño was really just kind of finding a marketplace, and I'd say it's permanently ingrained now. And what we're seeing out of Spain just is really an impressive set of wines that are absolutely competing with the best Pinot Grigios, the best Sancerres, and Sauvignon Blancs of the world. They're all made almost identically in the way they make them. They have a signature to their place. And if you taste them side by side by side by side, they're really close, but there are subtleties that distinguish them from themselves. And that's kind of cool. It is also a bit of a challenge on a Master of Wine exam when they pour you a wine like this and you taste it and you go, is that Sancerre? Is it Pinot Grigio? Is it Albariño? And I've been wrong more than I've been right, I'll be honest. So this particular property is owned by Gerardo Mendez. He's a third generation grower, and 10 hectares of vines are all that they own. So pretty small, but been making it in a really high quality style. Look at the vineyards out there and look at how they're kind of trained and trellised. A lot of them are trained up kind of over your head so that the grapes can create a natural shade. And that's done in a lot of old vine vineyards. And so the leaf creates this shade, and then the fruit kind of hides underneath that pocket of shade. And that's why you maintain this amazingly high acidity. And got a couple comments here. Haha, all right, very good. So when you see this type of a vineyard here, look at that. This looks like a working farm. Like there's all types of things, different crops being interplanted out there, and really, highly functioning. There are many wines now that are coming in from Rias Baixas that are Albariño blends, and I like those a lot too. But Albariño here in this particular bottling is done as a single varietal, monovarietal. Harmonious palate, vibrant acidity, minerality as a component. Very dry wine is something you're going to count on from Albariño. There are some that play with just how ripe these wines get, but there is so much acidity that you could actually push the ripeness a little bit and play with a little bit of that flamboyance if you wish to, and some of them do. So, as described in the textbooks, this wine is perfumed and elegant grape of grown in Spain, typically dry, shows peach, apricot, citrus, and white flowers. You could say that same damn description for great Pinot Grigio and great Sauvignon Blanc when, in
Kind
certain
of
areas.
a
Able to withstand excessive heat and humidity, often vinified into a crisp and mineral-driven wine. So here's a review of the wine. This is from the Wine Advocate. And a picture of the owner and winemaker. I like a couple of these notes here that maybe inspire you to find some of the things. Notes of grass and bay leaf. And I think that's a really this wine, I think it does lean into what I would call a savory direction. Balsamic, grass, bay leaf. Think about one of those. A bay leaf in particular, I think is really cool. Grass, sure, but the bay leaf is really a fun thing to go in and find. And one of the things that they do to give this wine some mouth feel and not so lean and enjoyable in the mouth is they'll keep it on the fine lees. So you ferment the juice, yeast eats the sugar, creates a little heat, keep it in stainless steel to retain temperatures, keep them down and modest, keeping the fruit very vocal, keeping the wine from overheating, and really keeping the acidity and energy very vibrant. Fermentation ends, and all this particles, we know them as lees. Basically, it's dead yeast cells, small pieces of the fruit, of the grape, of the solids. They fall to the bottom of the tank. Sometimes we stir them in a little bit. Sometimes we just let it sit on top or sur lee on top of the lees. And that time on the lees gives the wine some weight. You can actually increase the kind of the roundness and the richness of the wine with your lees use. Sometimes it's about stirring, sometimes it's just about time. And so wines that sit on the lees get a little bit more complex. Bay leaf, love that. That's I'm gonna use that forever. And here's that gondola style where they're kind of putting the fruit right up on top and creating that shade box. Um, it's also kind of interesting to be able to harvest in this way because the fruit just kind of all you see hanging down is the fruit at harvest, so it keeps it pretty enjoyable for the vintner workers as well because it's trained up pretty high. You don't have to bend over too much, especially if you're not a real tall guy. At 36.95, this is a real winner. There are less expensive Albariños in the market, but this is a really good brand. You would be this would be served at a Michelin star Spanish restaurant. This would be, a real sizzling offering. And this 23, by the way, feel very comfortable drinking it in 2033. These wines actually do get pretty interesting with some time. By the way, the last real fancy Michelin 3-star restaurant I got to go to was serving a 2014 Sancerre. This was like middle of last year. And it was a real special one. And we were sitting there and enjoying the food and wine pairing, and they pulled Sancerre 2014, and I was like, wow, that's starting to happen. So some of these white wines with great acidity, they definitely age well in the bottle. And I went out and grabbed some older Sancerres just for fun to have some of those too. And this is in that same category. I'll talk with you now and see what your thoughts are. Oh, thanks, Thomas, about the Galathea feature on CNN. I'll look for that as well.
Yeah, that's the Eva Longoria hosted one, and it really made me want to visit Galicia. The food looks absolutely fabulous. They did talk about Albariño, and it's the wine of Galicia, et cetera, et cetera. It's really a fabulous episode. I'm not as big a fan of what they're doing there as the Stanley Tucci series, but it's that one's worth watching.
Oh,
Cool. Do you like the Stanley Tucci one? Is that what you're
I
saying?
like both. I like the Searching for Italy, and I just finished his new one too, which is on National Geographic, and that's very good, very good.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, those impact travel in a big way.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know, Tucci, whenever we went somewhere in Sicily with the group about 2 years ago, remarkable trip. Stanley Tucci had just been there. So you go out, go if you've been to Sicily, and if you and some of the guests on tonight's show have gone to Sicily with me, watch that Stanley Tucci show. You'll see a lot of the places we visited, and that's pretty cool. Um, I'm getting some positive comments about this beauty. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Don't can you get that bay leaf on that nose like I do? It's got all the savory, leesy, um, and you know the citrus for sure. I'm not sure how much white peach I'm picking up in today's episode because, you know, maybe this is a little bit more of an earth-leaning day, leafy or something like that. If you believe in the biodynamic calendar, can kind of steer the nose of the wines around a little bit. But I think the wine's smelling amazing.
I'm in Stephanie's camp. I love Albariño. I just got back from a trip where we spent some time in Spain, and so yeah, it's wonderful.
So my trip is going to start in San Sebastian, and we're going to get up into those Basque hills and cheese producers and smaller wine producers. The Chocolino wines are really interesting. There's some very commercial versions some people have tried, but some of the top producers are really mind-blowing. I compare them a little bit more to like Chablis and things like that. This is also, you know, just this is so savory. This is so dry. I wonder if some people may think this is even too dry because this thing has got I think this thing is cleaning my teeth. This thing is so intense that acidity is off the charts. Mm. And with seafood, oh yeah. Of course, you're right on the ocean. Um, and so this is a place of amazing seafood and a great destination. It's not your regal, luxurious lap of luxury type of a town up in Rias. It is a little bit more rustic, which is charming and nice. Um, uh, but San Sebastian certainly is. It's got all the luxuries, the nice hotels, the Michelin star restaurants, and you can have an incredible lunch with a bottle of wine for about 10 or 12 euros. So that's what San Sebastian will offer you. We'll go from San Sebastian, just so you know, I'm just going to do this one more time because I don't want to talk about it all night. But we're going to go from San Sebastian to Rioja to a place called Ribera del Duero, but we'll probably be staying in Sardan del Duero at a very special place. And then we'll finish up in Madrid for the first week. And then we'll extend to Barcelona with Pendejes and seeing some of the Priorat and Cava producers. So this is what we've been working on for a while. It's about 10 days if you want to go for the entire time period. All right, moving out. Let's go back into our slideshow and explore wine number 2. Those on the Zoom tonight, $36.95, get the 10% off. So this gets real close to about $30 a bottle. And again, top producer, 2024 is probably on its way, and it'll probably be closer to $40 when it arrives because I bought this wine almost a year ago on a pre-sale. So my price is pretty sharp. I got to tell you, when I put this together, I was like, oh, should I show this wine or not? I love this wine, and I mean, 97 points. Come on, how can you not love this wine? This is a real rare and special treat. This is a favorite wine of a past president. Um, it is a wine that has appeared on many celebratory international deal signings. Um, uh, and it is just a special thing that you're not going to find throughout France or throughout Spain. Many producers talking about Chardonnay. But this is an important family. They have invested massively in the different wine regions of Spain. And they also do an incredible amount of experimentation because they're really involved in trying to find the answers about what grape varieties are going to survive as the globe starts to warm up. They're doing their ancestral varietals, and they've got a variety of land holdings, very well off family, very well positioned. Uh, this is a brand to understand that they also make good volume of wine, but at the high end, some of their top end wines touch price points that are, whoa, how much is that? And they just make some world class stuff. Now we are over in the Catalonia area, and we are in the place called Conca de Barbera. Can you see it on this map right here in this little zone? This is your kind of Cava zone, and here's where Priorat is, like kind of the center of a mountain with Montsant on the outside. And very nearby is Barcelona, right over here. And you, this is there's so much to explore over in this area. Different coast, different Mediterranean as versus ocean, and some different conditions, but and a lot of different things, different dialects and different cuisines, etc. Here is their beautiful facility. 150 years they've been making top quality wine. I've met members of the family as they come over and do these really beautiful trade sit down educational tastings. They invest, and when wineries like this do as much as they do for the wine trade and the wine community, you find ways to participate and be involved. And I always buy some of their wild, super rare, top end stuff because I think it's some of the best wines of the world. That number's correct. 2,200 acres of vineyard underneath their tutelage. Now, not all of it creates expensive wine. Some of it is quite on the value side. But much like the Catana family and maybe a Louis Jadot in France and maybe some of the Bordeaux houses, they make the high-end stuff and they make a volume of stuff that's affordable. And they have all this expertise and all of this materials to work with, talent and equipment and ability not to do anything that they don't need to do, you know? So there's a lot of reasons why you can expect something great out of this wine. I want you to focus on some of these notes here. Notes of oak and orchard fruit, layers of ripe pineapple, bright citrus, and a smoky finish, because this is grown in real stony soils. And it's Chardonnay with a very Spanish attitude. Chardonnay is keen to getting nice and ripe and carrying some decent alcohols. We make so many different wines feature Chardonnay, from Champagne, the Blanc de Blanc, to the great wines of Chablis, of course, great white Burgundy. There's some beautiful Chardonnays out of Italy. And this is, I think, Spain's greatest example. I'm going to put it in my glass now. My mouth is watering, waiting to explore. Deep yellow color. The wine has a bouquet of bergamot and river rock. It offers clean flavors of lemon, pineapple, and oyster shell. This vintage saw a significant decrease in the percentage that went through malolactic fermentation. So they're keeping the acids a little more tight and high, and not allowing all of it to convert from malic acid to lactic acid. Mallow being kind of the green apple type of acidity, lactic being kind of that buttery, creamy sensation. So they didn't want it to be too oaky and too buttery. Look at that drinking window to 2038. Look at that land. In Spain is this. There are more acres of land than there are people. There's in fact problems with that because they have a lot of brain drain. A lot of the kids leave the country. A lot of vineyards were abandoned many years ago. But Spain is now about to surpass France, and it has in the past already, recent. But Spain is surpassing France in total wine produced. Think about that. This is $105, and I bet you I was supposed to raise the price to something like 140, because that's where the new vintage, when I go to buy it, it's going to be. This is a 2018. I bought it about a year ago, maybe two. Okay. I bought a 12 pack or 12 bottles of it. About 6 left. I think somebody came in and bought 6. Maybe I have 4 left now. But a really special wine that'll age. It has a great story. Let's see what you guys think of it. Taste it with you. I think that nose is just super cool. You can just smell right in there that you're talking about very rocky, coarse soils. The mouth is where that quality goes bonkers, because that is mouth coating, beautiful richness. Count the seconds. I'm at probably 20 now, and this thing is just kind of like peeling off layers. Great, great quality, and just so unique and so beautiful. Yeah, if you Google search this wine, you'll see that it's used in a lot of very big events. This was celebratory on many a presidential table, but a particular president that held the office for two successive terms really loved this wine, and kind of this wine kind of disappeared from America during that time period because it was quite popular. And so the chance to be able to take in some great 97 point 2018 was well received here. And I have opened this wine once for a group, and you are it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Really is a world-class example, and not many people have been able to say they've tried this wine. It's really rare and special, and I think it's pretty fantastic. It reminds me of Great Burgundy. Corton Charlemagne would be the kind of the comparable. You guys are being pretty quiet. Stephanie, you would not have guessed Chardonnay. Ray Marie, huge difference in acidity. Well, there's a lot more here. So that when you're talking about Albariño, you're talking about probably like a violin and a maybe something like a flute. Two very singular type of instruments kind of playing together. Here you've got a symphony. There's so many layers to this one, and it is very dynamic.
The finish is extremely long. It's really nice. The note said that it had a high alcohol level. What do they consider high? I know we've talked about that before, but
Yeah, I think they were talking about Chardonnays in general.
in general,
and create, because this one's not. This is. I don't want to just scream it out and be wrong, so I'm going to double check. Yeah, I was going to say 13.5, and it is 13.5.
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, you can this variety can get quite ripe, and in some cases, you might have some problems with some things in a vintage where you needed to go late harvest, or and some people have turned it into dessert wine, and some people have turned it into a botrycized wine. Rain creates a little botrytis, and some people incorporate that into their dry Chardonnays to make them pretty interesting. I think Chardonnay is really actually coming back in a much bigger way right now, because the new style is this, where it has got a little bit of oak, but it's that unbelievable complexity and that balance that holds it together in a bigger format, but doesn't get like that creamy butterball style. And I've seen Chardonnay prices recently just really take off. Now, last week we had some fantastic Chardonnay that really kind of broke some of the rules and came in at around $32. And thank you all for ordering that wine, because we sold a lot of that Santa Barbara Santa Rita Hills Chardonnay from Oloroso last week. Really, really a big seller. And I ordered twice to fill all the orders, so it was great. This is a little bit more of that, high tier, and a way to kind of position it in your head. It's not that it's $120 Spanish Chardonnay, is that it's only $120 Spanish Chardonnay that compares to the $400 Corton Charlemagne. So that's where this is the value, is when, if you were to taste this in a side by side with some great Burgundy, this would be in its equivalent, and it's not. I'm not just saying that because it got a big score. I'm saying because this wine is built that way, and really, really done well. To the Torres family, when we're done with this one, there'll be another. Thank you for all you do. I'm glad you did some research there, Tom. That is correct. All right, let's move into wine number 3. So we finish up the Torres Milmanda. Torres Milmanda. Just remember the day you drank this wine, because you might see it on a TV show or a news channel someday. It's a pretty special offering, so fun to include something like this in our quest to taste some of the greatest wines ever made. So we go across Spain. I would love to include a visit to Bierzo in Spain, but this is a wine called Menthia, and it is it is a wine that I love. I think it's kind of the equivalent to Beaujolais. I think it's really kind of the closest thing I can compare it to. A little bit more mountainy, but also both Beaujolais and this wine have incredible minerality. Let's see what you think. There's Bearsco, so it's pretty close. Bilbao and um, will be up here. Um, San Sebastian. So not too far away, but a little bit too far to make it a pleasant journey. So on my trip, we're gonna go like this. We're gonna go from Bilbao down into Rioja, over to Ribera, and into Madrid. Nice straight line. Then we'll probably fly to Barcelona, which is about an hour flight, and hang out in and around this place here. Did not mean to take that slideshow away. Let's bring that back. Go to the next slide. Now, Raul Perez is the name. He is like the vine whisperer, and he is so unique. This part of Spain is just getting discovered. They're still making more wine than the world can probably drink, so these wines haven't really been able to elevate much in price point. There are some exceptions, but when they do, Raul Perez will be the biggest benefactor. But look at these old vines. He's really gone in and found vineyards like this that are on hillsides, that are old vines, and he's nursed them using a lot of organic and biodynamic techniques. The wine that we're trying tonight is called Ultreia Saint Jacques. It is 100% Mencia. But when we say that, 100% Mencia, because these vines were planted 80 years ago, maybe a couple of vines in the vineyard aren't Mencia. There's like a little bit of a field blend approach. Some of the vineyards are more Mencia than others, but he does a number of different things. I'm going to show you on the website in a minute. But I love this combination of things: herbs, coffee bean, and tomato leaf. Think of those things as you smell this wine. Tomato leaf often associated with grapes like Grenache. Coffee could carry, into Merlots and Cabs, and herbs like any type of Italian wines, Super Tuscans, Barolo, all the great wines of the world have all these kind of interesting parallels, and we'll see what you think of this one. I love the perfume. I love the delicacy that is this wine. It is not supposed to be a power, rip type of a sensation in your mouth. Maybe a little bit more in, between Beaujolais and the Rhone in its approach. A grape known in Portugal as Jaén is the same grape. And those of you that went with me to Portugal, we tasted some wines that had some Jaén involved. Lots of slate in the nose too. So lots of that minerality, that stoniness. Now, here is a picture of Raul Perez. That beard is remarkable. And he is about maybe 5 feet tall. So he is distinctive. And his personality comes shining through that beard. It's amazing. But let's look at this beautiful description, this 94-point review, which I think is a great score for this wine and where it needs to be to get people to pay attention. Cassis, pomegranate, tree bark, espresso, dark soil tones, discreet Menthia botanicals, and smoky top note. With the palate, the wine is deep, complex, and full-bodied, with impeccable focus and balance, a fine core of black fruit, excellent soil undertow and grip, buried tannins, and a long poised, classy finish. This is certainly approachable today, but will be even better when the tannins are allowed to at least a handful of years to soften up further. It is an excellent and very elegant vintage for this bottling. Drank between 2024 and 2075. Seems a little elongated to me, but if I make it to 2075, that'll be remarkable. Be 107 years old. Let's plan on that. Look at that soil. Are you kidding me? That is like manicured beyond most places, and it looks like a very special site. Okay, that price is not wrong. $24. That's what will get you to say, let's try it. Okay. So with that, I want to take you on to Merchant Wine and show you a couple others that we carry from him. And it looks like we have in our glass today, we are tasting, and I think I did this on purpose, the new one. Yeah, 2021. This is the current new vintage. I still have maybe a couple bottles of the 2020. Also really good, but 21 got a point higher in score. But then we've got these bad boys from the 19 vintage. And these are those single vineyard blends that carry different names. And he makes these every year. But you can see some of the great grape composition: 34 Menthia, 33 Bastardo, 33 Garnacha. And every single one of them's got a little different cepage, a little different composition. Menthia and other varieties, very specific. That's nice. Because this is an older vine site. Nobody knows what's in there. Nobody's taking the time to figure it out. And this one here too. Mencia Bastardo, Donna Blanca, and Garnacha. So each site is being bottled separately, but a lot of them end up blended into this one wine. So that's what's kind of cool about this project, is it's really a blend of his top vineyards. The nose is beautiful, goes all in different directions with that minerality. I hope you see the comparison with Beaujolais, also in the mouth. Lots of comments tonight. Love that. Keep chatting it up. Yes, there's different Grenache clones. There's, Grenache Blanc, Grenache Gris, Grenache Noir. And then there's like little variations of Grenache. How about duck? I like that. That sounds like the answer to a question. What would you pair with this? Yes, that's good. Good, Tom. Good job. But ultimately, when in Spain, the answer is always ham.
This strikes me as a really unique wine. I don't think I've ever had anything quite like this. And I'm saying that in a good way. It's very, very interesting.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's kind of a gateway for people to find out about this type of wine. Um, let's say I love going out for Spanish food. Whenever you go out for Spanish food, it turns into a little bit of a party. That's just the lifestyle. And have you ever had a paella with the seafood and the sausage and the rice all stirred in together in this big, huge pan and cooking in all of their oils and stuff? That would be amazing. Um, I think one of the last times I took a group to Spain, which was a while ago, at least 10 years, we went and visited this woman. She is beyond beautiful, and she cooked lamb for us over a fire. And every person on this trip, and by the way, it was me, my brother, and like 8 beautiful women on this trip. So we had a lot of fun. And the this our hostess was so beautiful that all the beautiful women in our group were like, wow, she's beautiful. And so they were all entranced by her. And she's bending over, cooking lamb on a fire of cuttings from the vineyard. And I would love to have this wine with some roasted lamb chops on a vineyard cutted fire. I think this would be amazing with that too. A little gamey. And duck is a good option too. But explore this category. And if you have a fun Spanish restaurant in your neighborhood, check it out. And maybe they'll have a Menthia on the list. Maybe not this one. There's a number of others, but Raul Perez is the brand to watch. He is the trendsetter. He is the market mover. He is going to make this category famous. When you look like he does, people remember your name. Great Italian Whites is next week. Just a little commercial about next week's program. I did not mess around. I'm pouring some great Italian whites. Now, I expected it to be a little warmer. It's been a fairly modest June so far. I'll take it. I love it. But this wine lineup is insane. Okay. You will love this wine lineup. And there are some juggernauts here. These are really special. Some of them fairly rare as well. So check this lineup out and join us if you can next week. About 10 spots remaining. After Great Italian Whites, we're doing a really phenomenal high-end collectible cab, and I'm clicking through. It's $125 a person to taste, but look at what we get to taste. The bottle kit is valued at over $1,300 because this $12.99 includes a pretty sizable discount. There are 200-point wines in this lineup. One of them is called Primray, which I'm not going to tell you the whole story now, but this is something to know a lot about. The number 1 Cabernet in the world last year was the Vine Hill Ranch. I've got some. We're going to taste it. My biggest discovery of the year is this wine from Washington called From the Sky Down. You are going to flip out. 99 points. Not my 99 either, somebody else's, but I would have given it the same. Myriad's Dr. Crane, Beckstoffer Dr. Crane, a 96 effort from a very famous winemaker named Mike Smith, and Thomas Rivers Brown's Maibach, made for the Maibach family. It's called Ammonius. This is a 97-point wine that, when that's the lowest scoring wine of the lineup, you're tasting some really good wines. And that's what we've got next week. I kept it to 5 to keep it kind of attainable. There's a 2 flight kit special that comes in at $240. This will be special. My friend Gil will join me for another session of some new stuff from Mexico. I brought in a bunch of new producers, some of the world's greatest Sauvignon Blancs coming down the pipe in July, and the newest wines to taste and fall in love with. Is a great way of saying things that I don't want to have to put it into a lineup of Spain or France or Sauvignon Blanc. I just want a hodgepodge of really great, cool, fun things that I've been able to isolate, and they're going to appear here on June 16th. We move into another absolute benchmark producer. This is the House of Pingus, but this is a cool project called PSI, and the name Pingus is synonymous with probably the most expensive and most collected wine of Spain. Makes very little of it. It sells for a lot of money, like in the realm of $1,000+ a bottle. He makes a second wine called Flor de Pingus that sells only for $150-ish a bottle. And then he's going around to the neighbors that his vineyards abut. He's teaching them how to grow Tempranillo at a higher level. And so he goes, and if they agree to grow it the way he tells them to grow it, he will overpay for the fruit. He will pay them way more than they are selling it to others for, but they have to follow his strict regiments and improve the fruit quality to qualify. And that's a cool project. He's in Ribera del Duero. We may visit him on our trip to Spain. I have been to this facility before. His name is Peter Sisek, very famous, very well recognized around the world. He owns a really high-end site on this property and does buy some additional fruit. Old vines, his neighbor's Vega Sicilia, and he's a big part of what's called the Golden Miles there in the Ribera area, where they turn grapes into gold, basically. This is 90 Tempranillo, 10 Garnacha, and this wine kind of over delivers. Get it in my glass. Tempranillo, really a cool, angular, muscular, masculine grape variety. Assertive, thick-skinned, lots of tannin, lots of structure, very muscular. Blended with Garnacha, give it some personality, maybe even help with earlier drinking, some softness, some texture. He has been, not only does he elevate the local population by providing this wine, because he is a brand in himself, and so people will buy wine from him at a higher price point than people they don't know. And so he's gone out and he sources this fruit from his neighbors, pays them well for following his programs, which can go badly because he is very much an organic or natural farmer, making sure there's no herbicides and pesticides in the vineyards, really nursing the vineyards to health and teaching them the best ways to make the wine, the fruit, absolutely the highest quality. He built a facility just for this wine. And all of the people that he buys fruit from benefit when the wine is good and sells for more. They are all in it, investors basically, and that's how it's being done. This is 42.95. Used to be a wine that you could get in the 30s. It's going to be closer to 50 soon. But this is the current vintage. Got 95 points. It's a newer case to our store. Parker says the fruit selection was better in 2022. That's something to comment about, and that's why this wine is elevated in score. Let's taste it together and see what you think. Not a lot of wood here. It's very much focused on fruit, freshness. Yeah, it's definitely on the earthier side. It's got, I think it's pretty juicy, pretty earth oriented, a lot of rock and stone, lots of pepper, black pepper, spicy. And it has this kind of round, rich, kind of like a Zinfandel might have, a little bit of that old vine richness. I think it's pretty fun and really nice upside for 40-ish dollars a bottle. Very enjoyable and a really good pedigree. Wine number 5. So we travel, there's no doubt we'll end up at López De Heredia. And anyone that ever asked me where they should go, when you go to Rioja, there's a town called Haro. Haro has a number of very important producers. Pingus, I'm sorry, Muga and López De Heredia, the wine that we're going to taste, are at the top of the charts. This is like history on rewind. They've been making wine since 1871 and they haven't really changed very much. This is where you can see the two major towns in Rioja, Haro and Logroño. Okay. This is the building that houses López de Heredia. It is run by Maria Joseph López de Heredia. You got to have 5 names. And she is all of that. She's an amazing human being and has championed everything from trying to turn back the clock and the way they make the wine. They have coopers that work there not to make barrels. That's not their job. Their job is to fix barrels because they don't want a bunch of new wood in the winery. They love the older wood and just keeping the barrels from leaking. So it's constant repair and very little replacement. 420 acres. Very important. They make wines that sell for a lot of money. Almost a disaster. Did not break, thank God. Look at that. That's what we might see in November. A little bit of snow. I love it when we go to bed and it's like kind of orange and green and we wake up to a field of snow. It's super cool when that happens. and just enough snow to make it nice and cool and crispy and covered in white, but not so much snow that you can't drive to the next place. This is classic Rioja, and it's from a great vintage, 2012. The picture says 17 or 7, but this is a great vintage, 2012. It's 70% Tempranillo, 20 Grenache, and 5 Graciano and Mesuelo. 5 each. So that's 100% right there. This wine is known as a Reserva. Now, in Rioja, if any of you remember taking the Rioja programs from me before, they have young wines that they sometimes call Joven. They're just fresh. They're kind of harvested, fermented, and bottled, no time in wood. Then there's Crianza, which is 1 to 2 years. Then there's Reserva, which is 3 years. Then there's Grand Reserva, and I think it's 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. In order to be Grand Reserva, it's got to be 5 years. Well, López De Heredia appreciates those rules, but they then put their stamp on it. This wine, let me just double check. It typically says on the back. Doesn't say here, but maybe they only do that on the Grand Reservas. But what I was looking for is a bottling date, because I think this wine was bottled in 2022-ish. 10 years. 10 years in wood. Okay, that they make Grand Reserva, and the current vintage on the Grand Reservas are 04. Those are 20 years in wood. Nobody does it like them. And they get some pretty unique characteristics out of this wine. We'll talk about that in a second. Tempranillo, again, the backbone. A lot of people think Rioja, Tempranillo, but these are the other grape varieties right here. Graciano is a fantastic grape, but it's really taken on a new personality in Paso Robles because a lot of people planted Mourvedre only to find out 10 years in that it wasn't Mourvedre, it was Graciano. So they thought they were making GSMs, they were making GSGs. Mazuelo is also known as Carignan. How cool is that? Another Rhone variety. So Grenache, Carignan, boom. So Rioja, very close to almost like a Rhone wine, but with a distinctly Spanish characteristic. Now, before I review the score, what you're smelling here is 10 years in an old American oak barrel, because Spain was isolated from France and the world basically, and they had to buy American oak from the bourbon industry. And really, Rioja was like the only wine that was being imported into America during this time, oppressive time, when Spain had some really difficult leadership. And so there were some concessions. Rioja started to move when the king or absolute leader, I don't remember what his title was, but he was like a totalitarian leader. When he was deposed, then it took a few years, but the markets started to be generated and capital started to flow, and new governments came in welcoming investment, and things started to change, and some wineries could buy French oak. Well, and some Rioja producers went from using American oak to using maybe French and American. If it's an expensive bottle, we want it to taste like a great Bordeaux, so we'll take our less expensive and we'll put it in American oak, and we'll take our higher end and we'll put it in French oak. Not at López De Heredia. Everything is like in the same barrel that they were using 30 years ago, 50 years ago. They have a large oak tank that they store their wine in that's over 100 years old. And one of the features at López De Heredia, which isn't really here in this video, but they have this natural energy in the winery. Okay, it's dusty, and they don't want to disturb it because it's created its own microbe environment there in the winery, in the barrel room, in the bottle aging venue, that it's almost like a mushroom. Have you read about how mushrooms kind of have like a way of communicating with each other? Yes, that's true. And so uh, they let the dust settle and stay there. And it creates this smell in the winery, and this smell of mushroom kind of permeates everything. Wine has it as well. Old American oak, mushroomy, well aged. And by the way, you could go back in time and drink a Chardonnay wine because these things are absolutely educated to age like tanks. So this 2012 will outlive us all. I if I could find it, I would buy back older vintages, but they do get really expensive. El Cladiolo. What does that mean, Thomas?
Oh, caudillo. It means kind of like the leader, military leader, strongman, something like that.
Ah,
That
that's
was
the
Franco,
huh? Franco.
caudillo. Yeah,
Deal.
the boss.
I'm I'm remembering world history class now. I think
Yeah.
that's cool. Now I want you to think of like this Rioja and think about your in the taste room, which is, by the way, at La Pizzeria, they have very good taste, and you can see on the label art, a lot of kind of the turn of the century inspiration. The wine was featured at the World's Fair in like 1900. They built a booth out of wood that is so beautiful, and they have it in their tasting room. So when you visit the winery, you can see this glorious display that they used 100 years ago, basically 125 years ago now. And everything about this winery is just like, wow, so cool to see how they used to do it and how this winery is still doing it. Now, uh, what's also incredible is that, some of their older vintages sell for a lot of money. So this is a pretty bankable asset. In fact, this winery will go every once in a while and do an older vintage release, and the wines are not priced in line with normal progression of pricing. When it's an extra 10 years old, it's not 10 more dollars, it's 100 more dollars expensive. So they're not afraid to charge a lot of money for their beautiful older efforts, and that's cool because that's really not normal. And guess what? They get it. If these older vintage releases sell out like fire. In fact, I don't get to even order. They tell me, my importer says, Ian, you're a good customer, so we got you 3 bottles, and here they are. If you want them, let me know. If you don't, we'll give them to somebody else. So on a big release, I'll get 3 bottles, and I mark them up, and they sell the very next day because people are all out there looking for older Grand Reserves from López de Heredia. That's how cool this winery is, and it's a big testament to her. By the way, they make Grand Reserva white. And I had it for my birth year. 1968 is a great Rioja vintage. And I have several great Rioja vintages on our website, older vintage stuff. I even have some 7D Tardonia, which I think sits around $600 a bottle for the 1970. And worth every penny and will sell at that price. Oh, here's a cool picture. Guess why the casks are up on these pedestals? Does anybody know? Also notice the growth on the pedestal. That is that mushroom that I was talking about. That is the dust. That's not spilt wine. It's not dirt. It's just from the moisture, and they believe it's part of the winery and they don't want to take it away. Those tanks are raised, and maybe somebody said it in the chat, so let me see. Nope, not flooding. Tanks are raised so they could put fire underneath them and warm the room and warm the tank. They don't do that much anymore, but that's why they were put on pedestals. But this winery hasn't done the 100-year remodel, and so it was designed back in the 1800s, so they still have these wood barrels. These are still in operation, and some of these are literally over 100 years old. And that's why this winery is so cool. And yes, not sure if the bottles all have the foiling on the outside. I know the Grand Reservas do. I'm not sure it's like almost like a silk stocking on the outside of the bottle. They were so successful doing it that a lot of less expensive Riojas started to do it. So they said, oh, forget it. We're going to stop. And they only put it on their Grand Reservas now, I think. But today the bottle doesn't come with it on the Reserva. So their Reserva, 10 years old, a 2012, is $60. Just think about that. And my price at 60, I work really sharp on this wine because I want to be one of the biggest sellers I can be. Because once in a while, I want to go to Rioja and I want like a special, like, oh, Ian, thank you for being such a good customer. Let's do something great for Ian and his group. I got to sell enough wine. So buy some Lopez from us if you want to share it with some great friends. By the way, great for Thanksgiving turkey right here. Rioja Thanksgiving turkey, cranberry sauce, the stuffing, the gravy. This is a great red, and their whites, which are almost impossible to get. I only have one. I don't even know if it's on the website right now. I'm going to check. But let me just show you. I do carry pretty much everything they make that I'm allowed to get. They make Reserva Rosé. Their current vintage on their Rosé, I think, is 2014. Impossible. $300 a bottle to get it. I mean, maybe it's even more now. But yeah, here's my, 1970s. Oh, $800. Sorry. That's the Grand Reserva, 1970. This was bottled in 1990, by the way. Package is pristine. I have one bottle. Let's see. Here's what is this one? Oh, I have one 2001 red. Oh, this says 9 in stock. I gotta worry about that. That doesn't look right. Let me check that out. I'm gonna send a note. Inventory looks wrong.
Hey, and what grapes do they use in the white?
Macabeo is that's the same grape that they use to make um the Cava wines. I wonder where they got 9 bottles. I gotta be worried about that. All right, so there we go. That's this is particularly in the sweet spot. There's other wines that I carry too. They have another vineyard that's not called Tardonia. López De Heredia is the brand. Tardonia is the name of the vineyard. Rioja Lopez. See if I can pull it up that way. There we go. The Cubillo. This is a great little value, 30 bucks a bottle. Current vintage on Cubillo is 2016. And there will be a white on there any day now. Hope you enjoyed the López De Heredia. And it's definitely been part of my world ever since I first visited there, and can't wait to get back. All right, we're gonna move into the last wine tonight. Guess I was a little talkative because we're running pretty late. Moving into Jerez in south of Spain on the water. Cadiz is the name of the city, the busy port city. You can smell the port, the salts, the seafood, famous for the flamenco dancing, and these sherry houses are spectacular, old. It's a business that used to be huge. It's gotten smaller, tons of consolidation, lots of empty warehouses, some really old barrels. And this brand, Lustau, came together and started buying up old inventories from some of these port houses, and they literally have them every year. They have auctions for some of these older I didn't say port houses, did I? I feel like I did. I meant to say sherry houses. But this wine is and this brand is the world-class negociant of sherry now, and they have different levels of price points. I carry quite a few of the higher tiers. Because they're higher tiers, they put them in 500 mLs. So they're all in slightly smaller bottles, but a little goes a long way when you're talking about sherry. This is from a grape called Palomino. Okay. Now I'm going to be honest, and some of you are going to smell this and get turned off immediately. But don't turn off the TV yet. Just make it through this program, because if you can get to like this wine, you will really appreciate some other things from learning how to taste this. It's a really phenomenal learning experience, learning about sherry. There are different styles, and this is kind of like the old school cocktail material too. All the old cocktails before there was vodka and bourbon and scotch and mixology, they made cocktails from sherry. And this would go out, take care of the sailing fleets. It would survive on the oceans. It's oxidized. It's part of its winemaking process here. This one is anyway. And this is a special style. So let's talk about that real quick. The grape Palomino is the variety that they make most sherry from. There's one other grape variety called Pedro Jimenez that is used to make the dessert sherry. But Palomino makes everything from dry to the very old sherries. This wine gets a score of 94 points, and it's described as salty, briny, nutty, green olives. And I think those are really important things to appreciate here. Beautiful. Now, what we're tasting is an Oloroso. And Oloroso is oxidized. There's Fino that is not oxidized, but sits underneath a floor blanket inside of the barrel that's not full. There's a headspace, and this floor of yeast is developed, which protects this wine from oxidation for Fino. But if the floor breaks and the wine is exposed, it oxidizes, and this one's gloriously oxidized. Look at that color. And there's different levels of aging and oxidation, and they start to pick up on different styles. So the name Oloroso is the style. This is a blend called Empress Eugenia. It's aged and very rare, is considered. It's about 15 years in what they would call a Solera. So they'll take maybe 10% out and add 10% in. Maybe they take 20% out and add 20% in, but the guts are still there. So this average age here it's an age for 15 years in Jerez. The foundation of its Solera by Emilio Lustau in 1921. So that's the Solera was since the foundation of its Solera was 1921. So they've been doing this Solera thing, and so you got something very old. Okay, every year adding in and taking the same amount out. Described here by the wine enthusiast, this dry Oloroso has a swoon-worthy nose of warm maple frosting and pecan pie. It's fresh on the palate, balancing weight and restraint with a plume. Don't know what that means. What does that mean? Salty, briny, nutty flavors of green olive turn toastier and darker on its almond inflected finish. This is a top-notch dry sherry to enjoy now and forever. Once you open these wines, they last for a long time because they're fully oxidized. Maybe not forever, but you could just put a cork in this, pull an ounce, come back to it 6 months later, a year later, and you'll be fine. That nose smells like nuts, olives, olive oil, salt. You're in Jerez. You're sitting in a wine bar. They're going to show up with a bowl full of almonds. They're going to have tapa, little pieces of bread with pieces of sliced sardine, very fishy, very oily, nuts, sardines. You need something to cut through. That's when you order, you show your prowess. You said you have an Oloroso, and become one of the locals that way. The chat is alive. Let's see what we've got. Comments going everywhere. Oh, cool. You're liking this wine. Did not expect to like the sherry, but it's lovely. Thank you, Stephanie. George says favorite after dinner drink, along with a great port. How long will it last after opened? Oh, a long time. Could be years. Excellent. Unreal. I'm not a fan of sweet. This is so surprising and delicious. And really, I'm so thrilled that you guys are all saying that. That's great. I think inside of the sherry world, it's much easier to enjoy an Oloroso than some of the drier versions, and the Fino can be like, wow. But once you start to like it like this, it's much easier to go to the other ones and start to appreciate them. It's also much easier to appreciate it when the wine's really good, because there's some pretty bad rot gut, low cost sherry out there. Uh, this is not that. This 500 ml is about $50, which is way more than they used to sell for, but a relative value because of its shelf life. You can pull it out at a dinner party, and you can have it for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then Easter because it'll last. So that's a great little deal. Thank you guys for joining me this week. I'm sorry it went so long. Um, I'm really hoping I can pull my trip to Spain together. So if anybody want to travel with me, let me know. I need to take 10 people. And Steph, I saw your comment, so we'll see. You know how it goes. If I build the trip and I can't sell it, it will show up again. But yeah, try some look at a classic old cocktail they called a sherry cobbler. It's like a shaved ice, so it's a little bit of work on the shaving of the ice, but that was a very famous drink in the 1800s. And but you just drink it straight like this and have it with your little tapas at home, and have a great night, everybody. I hope you have a good weekend. I'll see you on a Zoom into Wine episode very soon. I can't hear anybody, but if you want to say something, please do.
We're muted.
Did I mute you?
Oh, now I can't hear him.
I heard that.
Sorry, I muted myself. We're muted. What were we saying?
Anybody could say something.
I think we all enjoy this a lot, Ian. Thank you so much as always.
Awesome, man.
Perfect tasting. Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Your lineups have been just fabulous.
Thought he was.
Well, as they say, there's not enough time for bad wine, and you know, I appreciate you guys doing this with me, and I want to make you guys confident that we're going to be opening up good stuff. And I've really been trying to just buy great stuff for the website. And if you see that I'm missing something at a particular price point, help me. There's me and one other person running the store, and she's working her butt off. She's awesome. That's
Pre-rats.
You like pre-rot? And
Love it. My favorite.
Awesome. Got some great ones.
Okay. I'll look.
Yeah. Yeah, let me just
I liked how this Zoom though went all over Spain. So that was really interesting, watching the map and seeing how you jumped from place to place.
Totally. Here's a small selection of what I got from Priorat right now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Entry
Perfect.
level, hard to beat this Alvaro Palacios. Great brand.
We've had the one with the ladybug, I think, in one of your tastings.
Super
Yeah,
producer.
so good.
I have 2 vintages right now.
Yeah.
That's hard to beat. You step up into the $50 level, get something with a little bit more age and power. Go to 120 for one of the icons. Just had this at one of our 100-point dinners. Okay, check this out. 100-point dinner. We've got a $5,000 bottle of Screaming Eagle. We've got a $2,000 bottle of Bordeaux. We've got, you know, it's 800 here, 600 over here. We voted everybody up. Favorite wine of the night, Clos Mogador, 98 points, 123.
Because Priorat are amazing.
They are amazing. Right outside of Priorat is Monsant, and I've got a couple of those too. And This is pretty awesome. For Monsants are usually half as much as a Priorat, and this one at $55 is remarkable. So yeah, Spain has a lot to offer you. Man, there's just no limit. But I'm glad we could impress you tonight with some fun stuff. I'll try to do Spain again in 6, 8 months and try to find a completely different lineup, because I can. There's just so much I want to be able to buy and be able to support and taste with you guys. Thank you all. Have a great night. And I got a Dodger hat here somewhere. My Dodgers played a good game today. They won, thank God. We played the Padres, so we've won 2 out of 3. We played terrible yesterday. It was agonizing to watch them play so badly. But go Dodgers. Take care, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thanks. Use your discount.